Welcome to project 3, in which we make a fun cup cozy for our coffee cup here. So it's where we're going to replace this little guy with a fun knitted one. I chose this project so that I can show you an alternative way to knit in smaller circumferences. With the hat, we did 2 circular needles. This time we're going to do 1 needle with a longer cord. You can see here that it's really nice and pliable. So it's going to do well for our purposes. We're gonna start out by casting on 42 stitches. I'm gonna go ahead and just double it over. That's how long it would have been if I did 42, but I'm lazy. Do our little slip knot. And 42. So how do we get this into a circle? I'm going to move everything down to about the middle of the cord here. I want about half of the stitches on each side of the needle when we're done here. So I'm going to count out half, 2, but I do want an even number. So half would be 21, so it's not an even number, so we'll do 22. 2, 4, 8, 10, 12, 22. Okay, so I'm gonna pull these apart here. Through this little gap, I'm going to pull the cord of the needle through. So now I have about half on each side. Keep pulling it through. All right, put my yarn over there since my working yarn will be over there. All right, so about half on each side. This technique is called magic loop, and it's because we have a loop over here. And we are going to be working the stitches in rounds, in circles, like we did on the hat. Again, before I join, I want to make sure that my working yarn, see how it's attached here to this needle? I want to make sure that's on the needle furthest away from me when we start here. And just like with the hat, when we were joining in the yarn, or joining together in a circle, I want to make sure that I don't twist any of the stitches. And remember how we put the bottom bumps to the middle, so I was sure that I haven't twisted any. Now I'm going to kind of rotate them down. Kind of match up the sides so I can see they're all facing down. Paying careful attention over here. Sometimes it likes to twist over there and be sneaky. It hasn't been twisted. Okay, so my working yarn is attached to the top needle there. I'm gonna pull my working needle over. I'm not gonna pull it all the way through. Make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I still have some of the loop over here. So we have the bottom needle. I'm gonna push it the rest of the way through so that I can start moving the stitches over to my right needle, my working needle. I'm gonna make sure that I put my tail over there so I'm not tempted to grab it. My working yarn should come over my working needle, so it's underneath here. We're gonna start knitting, ribbing. So I'm gonna purl one, knit one. It's most fiddly the first couple of rows here, so I'm gonna make sure I show you. And you see I have a loop of the cord over here, and I have a loop of the cord over here. And my work is in the middle. So I've just finished a purl. That's why we want the needles, or the cord on these needles, to be really pliable so that they easily make these loops here. The other thing, okay, so I finished this row here, and now we're free over here. The other thing I'm going to do is put a stitch marker over on this side, on one of the stitches I've just knit, so that I know that this side is the first side that I knit. And so when I'm knitting later, I'm not confused as to which is the beginning of the round, which will be this side. So we don't have a stitch marker like we did with the hat. We had a stitch marker that showed the beginning of the row. This is looking a little bit loose right here. Don't worry, after a couple of rounds, that'll tighten up. All right, so how do we move it around? We're gonna turn it over. Make Make sure my long tail is out of the way. Again, we'll see our working yarn is on the needle furthest away from us. We're going to pull the loop to bring this needle, go away, over here to the non-working side, the non-working needle side. Make sure that we take our working yarn, put it over our new working needle, pull through. We still have a good loop over here. We have a loop over here. And we start knitting, knit stitch, purl stitch. The reason it's important for us to have an even number of stitches on each side, even if it's not exactly half, is so that we're always starting with a knit stitch. It makes it easier to remember where the yarn should go. It's possible to start with a purl stitch, but I have found that if we can start with a knit stitch, it just makes it easier to know where your yarn is going. Finish with the purl. And we've knit our first round. Turn it 180 degrees. We can pull here, we can push here, however works best for you. And we're back at the beginning of the row. Put our working yarn over our needle, pull them through, and we're ready to knit again. We are going to do an inch in ribbing, and then we will come back for the next step.